Okay, hey, welcome back to another Black City Coffee vlog. In this video, Tim from Bodhi Leaf Coffee graciously reached out to me the other day while I was roasting another one of your orders, Peru Cajamarca, organic, very good coffee. I only have I think I have one charge left, so if you still want to hit me up for some Peru, let me know quickly, or else it'll be sold out. And then I'm probably not going to get it for maybe another couple of months. So Tim had hit me up and he was like, hey, we have somebody here who wanted a profile. And he emailed me and he said, would you be willing to share your profile? I said, sure, shoot. I was just doing it today. And I feel like Peru, it's a washed coffee, so it behaves it's a very good behaving coffee in that it does everything that you think it's supposed to do as a standard coffee in the roaster of a drum roaster. So I want to share with you guys, since I was sharing with him, I might as well share with you guys too. So let's go to view. Here's my roast that I did. And here's the curve, okay? So I wanted to break down maybe the person who asked, Bodhi for help on his profile for Peru. I'm using RoastPath, so it's not as if I were going to follow something note by note, like say how crops are, like I showed you guys in that last video, how they have at almost every increment what their fuel settings are. Now I could do that. I have the notes section here, and this may be something for the developers over at RoastPath to do at Mill City Roasters, is being able to edit notes after I'm done with the roast, because I'm quicker with pen and pencil, pen and paper, writing down my fuel and air inputs. Otherwise, the machine, even though it's hooked up to my tablet, it doesn't automatically read those things like my fuel inputs. I think it's because it's all manual. Like the way that I adjust the fuel is by a literal physical valve, right? So I don't know how that works engineeringly wise. So I have no idea, but it would be very cool. Like if I'm making my notes down on paper and pen, to come back and put it back in notes and put my fuel and all that stuff. That way, if I did want to share it, or just for my own self as a roaster, like where was I at 6 minutes? Where was I at 7 minutes? Because otherwise, I'm gonna go strictly from memory. Actually, I was just thinking of that right now. I was like, well, that could be cool, because sometimes I'm quicker with the pen. And really, I'm using this software to let me know what's my rate of rise a little bit, and just kind of keep an eye on things. I'm not really sticking to the data as much anymore. What I'm learning from Steve over at Mill City Roasters, and just roasters in general, is like this sort of letting go of the not getting too comfortable being hand-holded by data. It's there as a tool and to just be used as a tool, but you really must develop your sensory tools, your own experience, your own intuition, your own knowledge. And I would much rather rely on that, because sometimes software doesn't work. Like there was a couple of times RoastPath didn't work for me booting up for whatever reason, like an update was going on and I'm already ready to roast. I don't have time to troubleshoot any software problem. So I would just roast with my own intuition and writing down on pen and paper what my events were. Okay, so there's that. Okay, let's get into this curve. Okay, so I'll link this for you guys in the description, so maybe you could see what's going on. There's a little weirdness going on over here. I don't think it's a big deal. Okay, first of all, this charge is not accurate. This is Peru, and it's about 1200 on the elevation. So I chose, based on my experience, based on trial and error and roasting, I chose 380 for a charge. and this was my first roast of the day. Not roasting too much these days, which is kind of good timing because we did start to pick up in my primary job. So my focus is there right now, and plus it's hot. It is so hot in SoCal right now. We're breaking 100 almost every day right now, so I'm cool. I'm good that I don't have to roast too much, but I am grateful for your orders. But yeah, it's not a killer or nothing. Okay, like I said, this charge for $4.38 is not accurate. So this has to do with some of like the sensors or whatever. I charge by the PID. The PID on the panel is 380, and what I will do is I'll come up to temperature. I will come down to temperature, but I will heat the machine to about 420. If this is my first one and I feel like this coffee is not too dense. If it was denser, I would let it heat up a lot hotter. But it's 1200 only on the elevation, so I'm going with a 380 charge, and I'm preheating to about 400, 420 like that. And then turn off the gas, and I let the machine come down to 380. I come down to 380. When that happens, I charge the coffee. And then I hit the timer on the machine. And then, of course, I've hit this here. So there's a countdown here on the charge when you hit this button when you're actually roasting. So sometimes I could be a couple seconds off. Now that's that's splitting hairs. So I always, if I hit the timer on the machine at the correct time, like right when I charge, I'll go off that timer. Okay. So take this guide as a grain of salt. I still think it's a really good guide. Okay. So I've got the power, I've got the fuel off, right? And I'm doing that 1 minute soak. So I'm waiting for a minute to pass on the machine, because there'll be a timer right here, but I'm not really paying attention to it. It's just kind of like my backup, my other timer if I messed up, like I said. And then when I hit a minute, I'm already getting ready to turn the fuel back on. And for this one in particular, I didn't go to max power. I went to 2 kPa. So when 1 minute hit, I turned the fuel back on to 2 kPa. My max on my machine is 2.5 kPa. Okay. So when I was roasting this, I was actually tracing a profile that I already developed a long time ago, and I was about 2 seconds off. Yeah, 2 seconds off, because or 3 seconds off, because my initial one was like 2.3 for my turning point. So we have our turning point here, 2.5, which is when the temperature starts to go back up. So it's going down, right? The temperature is going down, 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 down. And then finally, when the beans are the same temperature as the environment, starts going up. And you start seeing that on the PID, the temperature goes up. Okay? And then from here, it'll note this automatically for you from here. Now you're just waiting. You're starting to pick up that ROR. It's starting to rise a little bit more. I'm riding that fuel of 2 kPa, and I'm riding that fuel all the way until green to yellow transition on this coffee, which smells fantastic. And for me, I hit it around, what does it say here? 512 green to yellow transition. Yeah, pretty standard for this. And then when I hit green to yellow transition, I hit the button on this software. I confirm it with smell and look in the sight glass on the machine, and in the trier I pull it out and see, and I make sure that there is no more green present. That's how I call yellow. And then once I confirm all that and I hit the button, I will increase the airflow to about 60. In the beginning, my airflow is always at a low setting, which I think is about 30 for me on the dial. 30 for me on the dial, increase to 60 once I hit green to yellow transition. Okay, so we're at, currently we're here at 5:11, okay, on the time. So I'm writing that out, and around 6, I'm starting to consciously be aware that I need to adjust my fuel and go down. And sometimes this changes depending on a lot of things, like depending on what I'm seeing and smelling and witnessing there with the coffee. But typically I'm going to come down to about 1.5 kPa here, or I don't remember, I'm sorry, 1.5 kPa here or 1 kPa. So around 6 minutes to 30 minutes, I'm typically going, I should already be in 1.5 kPa or 1 kPa right in here. Whoop. Okay. Once I start getting to 7 minutes of this roast, because it's washed for this particular coffee, I'm starting to come down some more in the in the fuel. So around 7 minutes, I should probably be about 0.5 kPa, and then probably around here, right before I get my first crack, I'm already hearing outlier pops for first crack, somewhere around here. And when I start to hear these outlier pops, I increase the airflow here. And this one I learned from Steve, and I learned from, who else? Steve from Mill City Roasters. I forgot who else was doing that. But, oh yeah, Bodie. The roasters over at Bodie Leaf Coffee were also doing this. Is like, I saw once they start hearing outlier cracks, they start predicting their first crack. They don't call it first crack here. They start hearing the outlier cracks, increase the airflow to about a high level, not max, but high. They hear the rolling first crack, pop, pop, pop. They mark it, boom, hit the button. And then I let this ride out for probably about a minute. And then when a minute passes, I'm maxing out the air, and I'm also decreasing my fuel once again to probably about 0.2 kPa. And then if I'm roasting a light profile, I'm gonna let that ride for post 2 minutes first crack. Boom. So now we have a full 20% of the whole roast being that development time. Again, kind of a misnomer, but typically what I've learned was like a 40-40-20 overall roast development time, but this still kind of falls within that standard way of roasting coffee. And I'm doing a light roast again. This serves the Peru Cajamarca very well. So tasty. Yeah, we're just going for 2 minutes post first cracked. And I always plan, like when I'm doing a light roast, I'm like, yes, I'm going to go 2 minutes post first crack, right? But I'm always going to check the trier and make sure, did I get good development? I'm looking at the beans, did I get good development of the beans? And guys, when I didn't film this, I was kind of like, I wanted to be very locked into this and kind of verify all my little theories going in as I'm, growing roaster and stuff. But I'll definitely throw up some pictures and show you the comparison of the green of the Peru to the light roasted Peru. And man, did they expand quite a bit. And I really feel like I nailed it. I hope I always feel a little bit like the imposter syndrome comes on when I want to make solid statements like that about my coffee. But I believe, okay, I could say that confidently here, and I'm very happy to give this order to this customer, because if you look at the development, you look at the surface of the bean, it just looks very evenly roasted, and you can see the size of it, it's swelled quite a bit, but still, as we look at the data, it's verified as a light roast, as not being a medium roast, not being overly roasted, but still some great development on the bean. So I think it was a really good example of controlling heat throughout this roast, and also it being the first roast of the day, and not having anything weird or crazy. And it's nice because this, it's a washed coffee, so it's easier. If you're going to roast a natural or you're going to roast a honey process or something like that, it's more difficult. It's more difficult, especially with this machine, this Mill City Roaster machine. It's so powerful. So me being able to control the power of my own roaster, that's a win for me, I'd say. Yeah, so we're dropping at 10:30, solid light roast. So that was it for this video. Thanks for watching again so much, and thank you for your support and your orders throughout this time. I really appreciate it. I really love creating these things from my heart to yours. So fun, so cool. So happy to be a part of this community as well. Everybody's so helpful, you know, and I always want to keep adding to that. I'm kind of always surprised by that as well. So cool. Okay, guys, have a great rest of the weekend. We'll see you next time. Bye.